The last abortion I did was the 4th time I'm doing an abortion for you. Do you want to destroy all the children in my womb? When I finally get married, what will I give to my husband? I will not abort this pregnancy. I will keep it and face the shame. Stella lamented to her secret boyfriend after he asked her to go for an abortion as usual. You know I am a pastor and my integrity is at stake if you keep this pregnancy. What will I tell my wife? What do you want me to tell my GO? How will I stand my congregation? Those who wanted my downfall all this while will now have the opportunity to ground me. You can't keep this pregnancy, Stella. These and more were the words of Pastor Dimeji when Stella insisted she will keep the pregnancy this time. How did it go? I asked my friend. Stella has been my childhood friend for over 2 decades now. Every time she was pregnant for Pastor Dimeji, I was the only one she confided in. We were both members of the central choir until Pastor Dimeji transferred me to our new branch in the mainland and made me the head of the choir. He made it look like he was promoting me, but I knew he was no longer comfortable seeing me in the same church he pastors, knowing how much of his secrets I have known. Before my transfer, whenever he preaches about righteousness and our eyes jammed, you could notice the uneasiness on him. I didn't know how my friend entered into this prison. All our attempts to stop their illicit relationship failed severally. They had used me most often to clean up their mess. Why I connived with them to continually help them cover up still remains a mystery to me. Stella, you are keeping this pregnancy this time. How long will you continue to protect an integrity that does not exist? A man of integrity does not sleep with his church members. It is high time you let the church know about what Pastor Dimeji has been doing in the secret. If we continue to cover this evil for him, God will not spare us his judgment. He should just accept responsibility for his action. I told Stella, I have made up my mind to keep the pregnancy and there is no going back on that. But I won't implicate Pastor Dimeji. I can't stand the shame and humiliation. I can't watch and see the church I helped build from the scratch crumble right in my face because of my illicit affair with the pastor. I will not be the one who will be the tool of destruction for the church of God. Pastor Dimeji may be stained, but there are still righteous people in the church. Hearing this will puncture the faith of the young believers who trust him so much. I will run away with my pregnancy to an unknown destination. This is what I will do, and I don't want you to advise me against it, Stella said. Very early in the morning before I woke up from the bed, my phone rang. When I checked my caller, it was our area pastor, my friend's secret boyfriend, Pastor Dimeji. Without doubt, I knew he was calling me. It must be in connection with Stella's pregnancy. This time, I wasn't going to be the good girl I used to be. I would be blunt and straight to him. I was still thinking of dirty and derogatory words to use against Pastor Dimeji when I picked his call. Then the call ended. I was expecting him to call me back because I knew he must have had a sleepless night over the issue. While I was waiting for his call, Stella's call came in. I picked and couldn't hear her as the call kept breaking due to network problem. I can't hear you, Stella. Let me call you with my MTN line, I suggested. As I tried to dial her number, Pastor's call interrupted. I refused to pick his call so I can speak with my friend first. The more I tried to reach Stella, the more his call kept interrupting. At this time, I realized he was really desperate and agitated. I was literally confused, but not answering his calls may send a wrong signal. So I decided to pick his call. "Hello, Sister Mercy," he said. "Hello, Pastor," I replied. "I need to see you urgently, Sister Mercy. We have to talk now. I don't mind meeting you in your house or somewhere else," he said in a worried voice. Can you imagine my area pastor humbling himself to this extent because he had defecated in the wrong place? No wonder the Bible says there is no peace for the wicked. The thought of using this case to milk him started running through my mind while I was still on the phone with him. But on a second thought, is it not our church resources he will use to service the ransoms? I reasoned within me. I am sure you are aware your friend is pregnant again. That was his first statement when we met in his office. I chose his office for the venue of the meeting to avoid suspicion. "Which of my friends, sir?" I asked him sarcastically. The way he looked at me, I could read surprise on his face. "You mean you are not aware?" he asked. I didn't say anything until he gave the answer to my question. "Stella, of course," he replied shamefully. Of course, that was what I wanted. "Who is responsible for her pregnancy, sir?" I queried my pastor again. He looked at me with disbelief. But this time, I was ready for pastor. It wasn't going to be the business as usual. I refused to look at his face so I won't feel bad. "Sister Mercy, I need you to do this last favor for me, and I will never come to ask for more," he said. "What favor, sir?" "Are you the one responsible for the pregnancy this time again? I thought you were a man of God. This is the 5th time you are impregnating your own member, and you are not ashamed of this evil. Your wife has been looking unto God for the fruit of the womb for almost 10 years, and you can't give her a baby. Instead of killing all these babies, why don't you keep this one? Maybe that is the last baby you will ever have in your lifetime. I have made a covenant with my God that I will never be part of this again. I don't want to further stain my hands with innocent blood. Please count me out, sir." Immediately, I picked my bag to walk out on him. He quickly stood up from his seat and grabbed me. "Please, Sister Mercy, you can't go." He almost went on his knees begging me. While I was struggling to force my way out, his right hand touched my breast, and I felt a sensation that turned me on immediately. He did not remove his hand from my breast, and on a deep look into his eyes, you could read on my face saying, "What is happening?" My legs were glued to the floor. My voice became faint. I tried to explain to my mind what was happening, but I couldn't. This must be a spell. But I wanted more of the touch from his soft hand, so I didn't resist him. Our eyes communicated without a word from both of us. Rather than leaving my breast, he held it firmer. and tried to squeeze it. Then my voice opened up. "What do you think you are doing, Pastor?" I queried. "I am sorry. This is the handwork of Satan," he said, and disengaged from me. When I left his office, I began to wonder what transpired between me and Pastor Dimeji. Did he use charm on me or what? Was that the same thing he did to Stella, that he was able to impregnate her for 5 times? I called Stella immediately. "Where are you, Stella? I have been trying to call you since but unable to," she said. "Did he call you?" How will I tell my friend what just happened between me and Pastor? A man she is pregnant for? I went to see him to solve a problem, but another problem arose. At this time, I stopped blaming my friend for getting pregnant for him for 5 times. It is not her fault. There is something different with Pastor Dimeji's touch that an average woman cannot resist. I tried to lift that thought off the touch out of my mind, but it kept flashing back lustfully. I told Stella I will be with her shortly, but here I am, thinking about the touch from the pastor after 2 hours. Mercy, what is wrong with you? I asked myself frankly. I have never felt this way in my life. How can I explain to my conscience that I am beginning to fall in love with my pastor because of one touch? This is strange. I told myself, I need to go and see Stella now. But what will I tell her? Can you see what I have been through all these years? I have made up my mind more than 20 times never to have anything to do with this pastor again. But I have repeatedly found myself going back to my vomit again. You have seen it yourself, Stella lamented. This is obviously why many people cannot resist sexual advances from pastors. I began to confess my sins for all the evil I have said concerning the ladies who were found to have illicit affairs with pastors. My dear sisters listening to this story, hear my advice. Stay away from the anointed. You may not be able to resist the temptation. Now back to the main issue about Stella's pregnancy. I began to tell myself I won't involve myself in this evil act again. Whatsoever that will happen should happen. Whatsoever that will happen should happen. I am out this time. I needed to also be careful not to hurt Stella. I must present it to her in a manner it won't hurt her. Even though I am yet to overcome the lust I suddenly developed for Stella's man after he accidentally touched my breast. Did I say Stella's man? I mean, our pastor. Maybe I should discuss my feelings with my resident pastor. But my resident pastor is junior to Pastor Dimeji. I waved that idea away. A junior pastor cannot handle a case involving a senior pastor. 3 weeks later, Stella had finished arrangements on her plan to disappear and move to a new location where no one knows her. But where exactly are you going to? Who are you going to meet over there? I asked Stella. I would like to keep this away from you. I know when my people start looking for me, you will surely bring them to where I am. Trust me, I will be fine. I can take care of myself and my baby. Just let this be a secret between us. My action will save the church a whole lot of trouble, she said. I couldn't hold back my tears for fear of what will befall my friend. How will she survive with 3 months pregnancy in a strange land? What will I tell people when they start looking for her? How will I ever explain that I don't know the whereabouts of my best friend? I hope this will not land me into trouble. Fear began to find its way into my heart. Managing fear, loss, and loneliness was the most difficult thing to do at the same time. Fear for my friend, lust for pastor, and loneliness created by the absence of my friend. I became extremely overwhelmed and sick. Since Stella left, Pastor Dimeji had not given me rest with calls and text messages. I have been avoiding his calls and messages just to stay away from him. I had planned to go for 3 days mountain prayers to deal with all these issues confronting me. On a Friday, I was to go for my mountain prayers before 7 a.m. Pastor Dimeji stormed my house unannounced. I was so shocked to see him. When he knocked at the door, I just ordered him to come in without even asking who it was. "Sir, what are you doing in my house this early?" I managed to ask him without salutation. "Where is Stella?" He asked too without courtesy. "Sir, I should be the one asking you where Stella is. She's carrying your baby and you should know her whereabouts." "Sir, nothing must happen to my friend. You better find her wherever you have taken her to." My senior pastor knelt down and began to beg me. "Please, tell me where Stella is. Please, sir, you are embarrassing me by kneeling before me. I will not leave here until you take me to where Stella is," he insisted. What's this, oh God? What will I tell this man? He obviously knows I knew about Stella's disappearance, but he will never believe me if I tell him I don't know where she is. I moved closer to him to lift him up from his knees, but couldn't due to his weight. Halfway, he slipped out of my hands and landed on my bed. Trying to regain my balance, I staggered and fell on top of him. He tried to lift me up, but I fell again, and this time, none of us was ready to make any attempt to disengage again. We began to look at each other, eyeballs to eyeballs. I guess you are anxious to know what happened next. It was an ugly experience. Pastor Dimeji just took advantage of me. I would have called it rape, but I never resisted him. Was he here to discuss Stella's case, or he came here to have his way with me? How did this happen? It was too sudden to believe. How can my senior pastor have carnal knowledge of me right on my bed? Mercy, what happened to you? I couldn't explain what just happened to me. I felt empty and guilty. I was lost in deep thought when he sneaked out of my apartment. When I realized he was not in the room, I wept bitterly. I had wanted to commit suicide, but suicide was not as easy as many think. I hated myself and Pastor Dimeji. Right there, I made up my mind I won't attend our church again. I will resign my role as the choir leader and quit every relationship with members of the church. This is an abomination of the highest order. I had condemned many ladies who fell for pastors, and here I am, in the same net of illicit affair with my own pastor. I couldn't go for my planned retreat again because of what just happened between me and Pastor Dimeji. I saw myself as a lamb at the altar of Pastor Dimeji. For a whole week, I didn't eat anything, nor did I go out. My colleagues in the office called me until my phone battery ran down. No one knew my house in my office, so none of them checked on me. My choir members were trooping into my house, thinking I was sick. I became tired of the visitation, so I left my house and went and hid myself in Faith's house. Faith lives with her parents, but she has a room to herself, and her parents know me too well. I had passed the night twice in their house before. The day I returned back to my house, I noticed my house had been so dusty for the period I was away. I pulled off my clothes and put on a bomb short and sleeveless top to enable me tidy up my room. As I stretched my hand to the back of my door to pick my broom, I heard a knock on my door. "Who is that?" I queried. Before I could go for the door, he had entered my room. Guess who? Pastor Dimeji again. "What are you doing here again, Deji?" I wasn't afraid to call him by his name because he has traded his respect with a round of sex. Dimeji is 15 years older than me, and we call him Daddy. But God forbid that I should call a man who sexually abused me Daddy. I am sorry for what happened that day. It was the work of the devil. He began to beg. "I have forgiven you. Please, you have to leave now. I don't want a repeat of what happened that day again. Leave before you use your charm on me again." I tried pushing him away, showing him the door, but he was reluctant. I told myself it won't happen today like it happened the other day. So I pushed him harder towards the door. "I am still your pastor, Sister Mercy," he reminded me in a gentle way. Immediately he said that, I remembered the sermon our GO preached during the workers' conference 2 years ago, titled, "Touch Not My Anointed." So I stopped pushing him. "Sir, you have to go. I don't want you here anymore. Please go. Please go. Please go." "I will go if you can tell me where Stella is." He gave me this condition and leaned on my door, blocking the door. "I don't know her whereabouts, and you must believe me. If I knew her whereabouts, I would have revealed it to you so you can let me be." As he stood there, tears rolled down his cheeks. How can my pastor be crying in front of me? I felt very bad, and I joined him in shedding tears. I wish I knew where Stella was. I would have told him as he was trying to wipe away his tears. I felt pity for him. He tried to hide his tears, but they dropped uncontrollably. I picked my handkerchief from my bag and stretched it towards him. He took the handkerchief from me and held my hand. "I am sorry for what happened that day," he begged. I stopped being rude to him after I remembered the sermon of our GO. He held me and stylishly moved his hands towards my shoulder and to my armpit. And before I could struggle to detach myself from his grip, he had turned my back to the bed again. "Please, sir, don't do it to me again," I begged him, but all my plea fell on deaf ears. He did it again.